We are back with another episode on the Coach Approach podcast. Guys, welcome. My name is Dom Dorico, and today we are going to be talking about my biggest mistakes as a coach. I thought it'd be quite an interesting one because I know a lot of people I speak to, and there are other coaches or just my mates, and we kind of laugh about the fact of some of the stuff that I did, which I think a lot of people do. And I thought it'd be quite an interesting one to go into and say, this is what I've learned over the years of coaching, what I have taken, what I have massively done wrong, and what's led me to this point of the position that I am in with my coaching business. Um, and it's got me to this point, and you can't get to a point in a career like successfully without making a lot of mistakes. And I work for a bodybuilding education platform. I also got a job last year as a performance coach as well in a bodybuilding platform, which was to educate coaches. So I got to a point. I've got to a point where I'm quite far into it, and I would say I'm not going to blow my own trumpet, but I've got the t-shirt. I've got lots more to learn as well. Don't get me wrong; it's always a learning curve. If you follow me on Instagram, I always am still in my education, still deep into education because there's so much to learn. But anyway, today's podcast is going to be about all of my biggest mistakes. So you can actually have a little bit of a laugh, have a little bit of an understanding of how I've got to where I am. And even if you're a coach listening to this, some of the stuff that I would not be doing. So you don't have to do it as well, whether you're just starting out or you're experiencing the same stuff. A quick update from me. I have just started my mini cut. I'm 2 weeks into it. I've lost a kilo from last night. Maybe because I ate my last meal at 6:30 in the evening instead of 8. Could be a contribution, maybe less water, less sodium. But I always lose a kilo randomly in all of my fat loss journeys, and I normally say that with clients as well. My clients will always have these random losses of kilos. So currently, I'm actually 2.3 kilos down as for today, depending on how my scale weight is tomorrow. And I'm on 3,100 calories, 60 minutes of cardio, 10 to 11,000 steps, feeling pretty good. First week was a bit shit. I'm starting to my muscles are starting to deflate. So what happens really, when you're eating a lot of food, your muscles are topped up with glycogen. They're pumped up. When you start to going into deficit, they start shrinking like a balloon. So you get through this shit stage. So yeah, that's my update. I've got a small spa weekend away with Naomi to this weekend. I'm starting to really try and emphasize more in my rest and recovery, and really working on spending my money in the right places rather than sinking it down on a heavy weekend of alcohol with like many people do in takeaways. So I save up instead of drinking. I save up for a nice little spa weekend. But anyway, let's get back into the episode of my biggest mistakes. Now I've written it down here actually. I was going through it. I was like, and all these things were coming to my mind. Now the first one, which makes me laugh every time, and I actually learned this from one of my coaches who was very advanced. So I was kind of learning off him of what he did. Now, I do my weekly check ins, and I used to get my clients to fill in a 45 question check in form. And I'm like, what was I thinking back then? No wonder people were hating it. No wonder back in the day, years ago, people were just leaving because there's too much effort. Every week, you had to fill in a 45 question form plus a daily tracker of recording your weight, your food, your heart rate, your steps, your hunger levels, your stress, digestion, all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, why on earth did I do that? So that was a huge one. And I remember going to a course and I showed someone one who's a similar position. We were earning around the same, but his was a lot more simplified. And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I went, "What do you mean? Like, I need all this information, no?" And he was like, "Try and bring it down." And honestly, yeah, 45 questions, and it was a lot. And then my check-ins, my feedback every week to each client was 30 to 45 minutes. So I was doing a video like this, going through all the data. Ain't no one got time for that. Oh my God. And I did that for a while and I was getting a lot of people coming and going and I couldn't work out why. Um, so yeah, my check-in process, then I needed to sort it out. I needed to shorten it. Um, and I bring it down to like 20 questions. Then I managed to bring it down to 15, then 10. Then I think my last check-in process for clients to fill in every week is now was down to one, was about 6, 7, and then the daily tracker was very small. I actually found out getting asking less, I actually got more. Clients don't want to be filling in forms every single day, plus the training, plus all this stuff. And I learned that the hard way by losing a lot of clients coming and going. Um, and now I actually do a check-in process where my clients will send me a video. They'll do a selfie video, 2 to 6 minutes, or a voice note just giving me a run through of their day. I gave them an example, and it's been so much better. I've actually got a lot more personal, building up more personal relationships with everyone. It's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun during the videos. Some people, I can think of Giles at the same time will always greet me with a coffee, so I greet him with a coffee. So now I do my video check-ins, and they do video check-ins or voice notes. So that was one of my biggest mistakes as a coach, asking so many questions every week in a check-in form. Another one I would say is not knowing more than the PT qualification. When I passed as a PT, I was led to believe that that's it. That's everything I need to know. I dug deep for 3 months. 3 months I was doing every single day, 8 till 6, learning how to be a PT. And when I finished, I was like, sweet, that's it. Nothing else I need to learn. My God, I was wrong. I didn't realize the vast knowledge that you needed to be an excellent coach. And this is again, I just started out as a PT. I was an absolute nobody back in the day. I was working at Anytime Fitness, trying to build up my portfolio, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting people's transformations. And I was I was helping people lose a little bit of weight, but they weren't dramatic weight. There wasn't like a huge transformation or anything like that. So I was like, what on earth is going on here? And then I found one of the other coaches in my hometown repost the muscle mentors, and I was like, what is that? And it was an education platform. So I was like, I'm going to invest into that. It was like £70 a month. Or no, it was £45 a month. And I started learning about nutrition, training even more. I went to one of their courses, live courses. I understood what training actually meant. I passed as a PT. I didn't even know how to train. No wonder I was so fucking small. Um, so yeah, I got into the industry where I loved, but I didn't really understand bodybuilding at all. And since then, I was like, oh my God, the PT qualification is so minuscule compared to what you've actually learned. I would say honestly, it's about 0.3% of what I've learned. Everything else, all the qualifications I've done now, all of the courses I've done, I've spent thousands upon thousands on training, nutrition, mindset, stress, all these things. And it's been incredible to learn even more. And it's kind of I've grown as a coach and become a lot more knowledgeable. Yeah, you're not going to use 60, 70% of what I learn, but it's there in my mind if I'm ready to like play that card with that comes up with the client. A lot of the time it is pretty simple, but there are other things that will pop in. I'm going, okay, I'm glad I did that course because now I've helped this client do this. So another thing that I made a huge mistake is thinking that the PT qualification was the only thing I needed to learn. Um, I then started going into a bit into this world where when I was learning all of this stuff, I was going too sciencey. I was really looking at the science bro education, and I was like, right, this is what the science says. This has to be the reason why. You can't not have this. And one of the things that I learned is that one of the courses we went to was like, really, we only need 2 working sets per muscle group to really see a great stimulus. So I was like, amazing, I've just learned that. I'm going to put all of my clients on 2 sets, nothing more. And I told them, you don't need any more. This is what will see you change. I was wrong. Why was I wrong? Because they didn't know how to train. They weren't training to failure. I wasn't teaching them how to train to proper intensity, volume, and stuff like that. I wasn't showing them how to progressively overload. So people were regressing. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? The science says you only need 2 sets, and my clients are not if not they're not progressing, if not they're even actually regressing and actually looking worse. So I was like, what the hell? Now that was a big mistake I made. And some clients I have on 4 sets or 5 sets. Really is, it's very individualized, and I found that everyone responds differently and people do need more stimulus. And I've also found that beginners, very beginners, don't need a lot of sets. Then you need lots of sets. Then as you get more advanced, you need less sets. And then if you get more advanced, sometimes you need even more. So it's like a graph going up and down of how many sets you need based on your journey and where you are right now. I found that out a lot. So 2 sets I found was it when I found out you only need 2 sets, took it out of context and yeah, fucked that up massively. I was also thinking more in sciencey, like if this is what the science and research says, so that has to be like that in the real world. Trying to apply all the science to real life people in their real life scenario and lifestyle and things just didn't work. When people said, "Well, I'm experiencing this," I'd be like, "Well, no, it's impossible because this is what the research says it should do." I was taking it by literally face value. And that made me a worse coach. So I then started going, right, I actually need to use this in a different way and use the science-based stuff that I've been learning and then and mold it into my own coaching style and apply it to clients. A great example is that generally the research shows that, your menstrual cycle for females, you're going to feel pretty shitty on week 4. You're going to feel drained. You're going to feel this. You're going to feel drowsy. You're going to feel lazy. You're going to feel a bit bloated, all this type of stuff. I've coached hundreds of females. I've actually got one client right now, Fran, who I'm thinking about. She feels incredible in week 4. She said, I'm the best that I feel in week 4 coming up to the period. It's the week after the period I feel my shittest. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now we know. Now we know the trend, and now I know how to deal with your training and stuff when these weeks come. So that was a great example in trying to take science and applying it to actual real life people. I treated everyone like a bodybuilder. When I started getting into bodybuilding properly and learning from bodybuilders, I treated general population. I treated Susan, who's got 4 kids and full-time work, as a bodybuilder. You must stick to this. You have to be on the point with these macros. You cannot be out of this without calories. My God, I started to be really, really strict. I said, right, if I'm learning like a bodybuilder, everyone can learn like a bodybuilder. Everyone has to train like a bodybuilder. Fuck, I was wrong again. I literally was so wrong. And trying to apply bodybuilding ethics or bodybuilding, should we say, golden rules to the general population doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Bodybuilding in itself has these golden rules, and that's trying to apply those to the general population, to people that are working full time, who have kids, who have to travel really far for work, like half an hour, 45 minutes to work and back. Bodybuilders generally can train when they want. Have got more time to train. They have normally most likely going to be working from home, so they can cook food. So you've got to apply some of the bodybuilding rules, such as your food, your training and stuff, and apply it to clients. Don't treat them like actual bodybuilders. And I learned that again the hard way, and trying to teach. Again, I'll use Susan, a random name, Susan. I've never coached someone called Susan, but is applying, right, this is what we want to try and achieve. This is our foods. This is our training. How can we intertwine it the lifestyle? What does your setup look like? How can we make sure that the sessions aren't too long? And this is where the volume actually intertwines. So 2 sets technically apparently is all you need, but Susan can only work out for 45 minutes. Brilliant. We're going to do 4 exercises, 4 or 5 sets each, so you don't have to keep moving around. And that's how you can create stimulus and be tailored to the individual and their circumstance. Because there is no best program. It's only what suits you, what you can commit to, and that push from a coach. So treating everyone like a bodybuilder was a big mistake. Now, this makes me laugh because I talk about this in the educational platform when we were on a live call. Because we were teaching some clients, some coaches, meal plans and flexible dieting. And I mentioned, guys, this is what I did. I used to give meal plans for pretty much every single day of the week. So you would have something that's different breakfast, different dinner, different lunch, different snacks. Oh, what was I doing? Like, I'm looking back at these going, fucking hell. No wonder no one could stick with it. It's all these different foods they've got to think about on top of their life, on top of their personal relationship, on top of their job, on top of training, on top of doing the daily tracker, on top of doing the check-ins once a week. I thought, and I actually bought this system from a friend that I met at a bodybuilding educational course, and I gave it was 4/5 meals of the week, and I said you can just have what you want or something near enough to that meal plan at the weekend. People just could not stick to it, and again, people were kind of leaving, going, "I can't stick to it. It's impossible. This is not for me." And I was like, right, okay, why are people not sticking to the meal plan? Well, the meal plan was too overcomplicated. So now what do? I educate people on tracking and I give them an example meal plan that has some alternatives. And this is the foundational of what we need to do. And I teach them to meal match. So, for example, we've got Josh who's just joined, a couple of Joshes actually. This is the meal plan foundation because you've asked for kind of what the structure would look like. Now I encourage you, we have meal free, which is dinner. Let's say meal free. We have a steak, some rice and vegetables. It's about 600 calories, 45 grams of protein. What do you like that you can meal match so you can change that meal plan when you want. And that's how I teach and coach, and how to make the meal plan suit them or nutrition suit them whilst we're covering some bases of nutrients, protein, carbs, and fats and stuff like that. Because again, there is no perfect meal plan. There are these golden rules that we try and intertwine and see what we can do with people's likes and dislikes, plus the job, how much time they can commit, all that type of stuff. So, making a meal plan for nearly every day of the week was a huge mistake of mine because no one can stick to it. I don't even want to stick to it. Fuck that. Another thing is didn't make things clear. When I started as a PT, I was messaging clients at 9, 10, 11 o'clock. They were messaging me at 9 going, "Oh my God, I've eaten chocolate. What do I do? Do I need to go for a run?" I'm like, what on earth is going on here? I didn't set clear instructions of these are my work times. This is what you need to do. I was taking people on without really realizing what they needed at that time. I assumed what they needed. I assumed, sorry, that they knew what I would be working at. I didn't have clear instructions. So I began to build this onboarding process, which sets very clear standards, very clear instructions. I don't overwhelm. So I was always trying to find the perfect onboarding process where I'm not trying to overwhelm and underwhelm. I try and just keep it very simple. So not making things clear, especially of what we're going to do, what the goal is, what the roadmap is, what we're trying to achieve here. So I became very structured and learning how to set up a roadmap, priming phase, what we're going to be doing here, habit optimization. This is what we're going to expect. Then we're going to go into a fat loss, 12-week fat loss transformation, 12 or 16-week transformation after the first 3 weeks. This is where we're going to build the habits. You're going to get used to the app. You're going to get used to the training. You're going to understand things because sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. So didn't set things clear at the beginning, which I have massively learned over the years. I really did burn out. I was starting to actually very much dislike all the hours I was putting in because I had no social life. I dug in deep and I was working Monday to Sunday. I joined a mentoring a business mentorship, and the guy himself was someone who worked a lot, and he was like up at 4:30 working till 7 8 doing all this stuff. I started to try and copy him, and I did for a while, and I did push the business quite well. But I also got to the point where I wasn't spending time with Naomi. I neglected our relationship. I neglected, personal, social stuff, neglected my own health, and I was just burnt the fuck out. I didn't have proper structure in what I should be doing. Yes, I'm always about head down, work harder for sure, but also knowing what the limits are, what I need to do to rest and recover to be the best coach that I can be for clients. If I'm rested, if I'm well rested at the weekend, for example, I can communicate better on a Monday, communicate better with clients, make better decisions, all that type of stuff. This is a big one, which I actually haven't really spoken about, and I should do, to be honest. And it might be a social post that I put on Instagram. I invested into an app years ago where I was sold the dream where an influencer was using an app, and I found out what the app developers were. I contacted them, and they said, "This is what we do. This is how much money you can make. This is we pretty much do everything. You just become the face of the app, and you just create a Facebook group, and you just contact. You can liaise with people in the Facebook group." I thought, wow, the money's limitless. I can coach, I can be in a Facebook group. It's a low ticket thing, it's like £30 a month. I invested £5,000 into it and it failed miserably. One, because I wasn't an influencer. They sold me, obviously, I had like 3,000 followers. For this to work, you need a lot of people, a lot of followers, a lot of people that will buy. And I didn't have that. And I was like, I was sold this dream where you, they deal with all the support. If there's anything wrong with the app, they deal with it, everything. And I'd literally just become the Instagram face of everything, and create the training plans. And that failed, massively, massively failed. And I regret that hugely, but also I also accepted that what was I trying to do? I am a premium coach, one-to-one premium coaching coach. One-to-one premium coach. I do not want to be doing low ticket. I do not need to do low ticket. It's not my clientele. It's not my market. It's not my niche. But it was a very expensive mistake which I did in the past. So that was a huge one. And yeah, you're seen to fail. Like I have failed even more times than I can remember. Um, by not explaining things, by not understanding things, but I've made the mistakes. Another mistake I've made is not being understanding or not asking the right questions, which to the point you push someone to the point they don't make any change. So I'll give you a great example here. I had a client who lost a little bit of weight. It was great. And then we're like, right, we're going to push a little bit more. And she was actually gaining weight. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. The numbers don't make sense. And I didn't really ask the questions like, are you actually okay? Are you actually following? Well, I did in a sense, but I wasn't pushing for really like strong answers. Are you actually okay? What's going on? Let's delve into this. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was like, okay, cool. You seem to be gaining weight. Something's mistracked somewhere. Let's push a little bit more. Be a bit more stricter, as I said, is what I said. I got to the point where I pushed this female client in the one I'm thinking of to nearly 20,000 steps a day, 1,200 calories a day. We were doing about 25 minutes of cardio per day, and she was gaining weight. And then obviously she quit. And I was like, right, what on earth has happened? The numbers don't add up. And it wasn't the numbers that was actually mattered. It wasn't the numbers that actually mattered. It was actually asking the questions. I should have asked the questions of going, okay, what's going on? Are you okay? Is there something that you think that might be getting in? You become more of a communicator. You got to. I learned a lot from that because I learned I needed to communicate more. The numbers are great, and I will say this all to clients. These are the numbers. Now we've got to apply that to the real world with your situation, your habits, your stresses and stuff like that. So communication, I learned over the years, has become so important in communicating to normal people with normal problems. And it's not just here's the macros, here's the calories, here's your cardio, here's your steps, like I do. Like my coach is a great educator as well. He does educate me on other stuff, but I don't need. I know what to do. He goes, that's your numbers. Let's do it. Let's see what happens next week. I can't teach clients like that I have. And that's why bodybuilders, like really advanced bodybuilders, have clients like myself, which is normally coaches, because it is a case of there's a numbers, that's cool, with a little bit of education on the side as well. None of my clients would be able to really work with my coach because he's not that type of people person. Well, he is at the same time. I've learned a lot from him, but most of the bodybuilders is like, that's your numbers, there you go. Coaching people with like that aren't really into fitness but love fitness for sure is a different ball game. So you've got to communicate, lots of communication through the week, which I absolutely do and I absolutely love. Understand what's going on relationship wise. And this is where the personal one-to-one relationship comes from coaching. It's never just that plan. Sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. Some of my clients do go, right, just tell me the numbers, I'm sound. It does happen. Not all the time though. And there will be obstacles along the way. So not asking, not communicating enough is something I learned a lot over the years, and actually being an empathetic coach and not a strict coach like this is the numbers, it's not working, you need to be doing better. It's right, why is this not working, what's going on, what do you struggle with, all that type of stuff. So communication is something I've built up over time. I feel like I'm a good communicator anyway, but I need to be even more, right, asking the right questions. So I think that was quite a big one on the podcast. I think I'll leave it there. But guys, hopefully you understand. Well, even if you're a coach, but it was a bit of an open podcast, this one for myself. And I've been in the industry for quite a long time now. I've got to the point where I am now, not because I've been so successful in areas, but because I've actually failed mostly and learnt from that. That's made me the coach I am now. Some coaches have just been natural coaches. I know one of my mates just went straight into coaching, didn't need to do any courses, and is hugely successful. I'm not like that. I've had to learn a lot along the way: training, nutrition, stress, communication, all that type of stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that and understood and had a good laugh with what my flaws were, what my mistakes were. And all the mistakes and fails that's actually put me to this point where I am now, which is, I would say, a very successful coaching business. And I'm only hoping to improve that and go even more. I've got big goals for myself and my coaching and my business and where I want to take it. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of a giggle. If you're a coach, please don't make the same mistakes as me. If you'd like any questions, if you have any questions, if you are a coach, please drop me a message on Instagram. I'll be happy to help. But guys, a very different one for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I shall speak to you guys soon, or I'll see you on the next one.